Your energy is sacred. It's the force that drives everything in your life, your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, and ultimately your results. But too many people are out here giving their energy away like it's free, spilling their thoughts, plans, and emotions to people who haven't earned the right to hear them. And then they wonder why they feel drained, stuck, or discouraged. It's because they've opened the door for too many opinions, too much negativity, and too many distractions. See, when you share too much of what's going on in your life, you invite energy that may not be aligned with your vision. Some people will act like they're rooting for you, but deep down, they're hoping you fail. Others may not even be against you, but they carry so much of their own doubt and fear that they project it onto you without even realizing it. They'll hit you with, "Are you sure that's a good idea?" Or "That sounds risky," or "I heard someone else tried that and it didn't work." And just like that, the confidence and excitement you had about your next move starts to fade. That's why you have to protect your energy. Because when you guard your mind and your spirit, you control the environment in which your dreams grow. Imagine planting a seed in the ground and then letting everybody walk through your garden. Some people will step on it. Some will pull it up to see if it's growing. Some will pour poison on it, whether intentionally or unintentionally. And then you wonder why your dreams never take root. You wonder why things aren't moving forward. It's because you've let too many people into a space that should have been protected. The truth is, not everybody deserves access to your process. Not everyone should know what you're working on, what you're struggling with, or what your next move is. Some things need to be nurtured in silence until they're strong enough to stand on their own. The problem is, a lot of people feel the need to talk about everything because they crave validation. They want someone to affirm their ideas, to say, "Yeah, that's a great plan." But when you depend on external validation, you give away your power. You make your energy dependent on the opinions of others instead of the belief in yourself. Now, I'm not saying you can't ever talk about what's going on in your life. I'm saying you have to be selective. You have to know who's in your corner for real and who's just there for the entertainment. Some people only want to hear about your plans so they can gossip about them. Some just want to keep tabs on you, not to support you, but to make sure you don't surpass them. And let me tell you something, when people can't figure you out, they can't interfere with what you're building. When you move in silence, they can't plant seeds of doubt. They can't sabotage what they don't know about. So the next time you feel the urge to share your next move, ask yourself, why am I telling this person? Why do they need to know? Are they going to support me, or are they just going to drain me? Because energy is real. You can feel when a conversation uplifts you, and you can feel when it weighs you down. And if you're constantly walking away from conversations feeling uncertain, discouraged, or second-guessing yourself, that's a sign that you're giving your energy to the wrong people. Instead, protect your energy like your future depends on it, because it does. Be intentional about who you let into your inner world. Share your wins when they're solid, not when they're still fragile. Keep your biggest goals close to your heart and let your results do the talking, because when you stop giving away your energy, you'll find that you have more of it to invest in the things that actually matter. You'll move with more confidence, more clarity, and more power. And that's when real transformation happens. Let them wonder what you're up to. Let them see the results when it's too late to stop you. Because when you protect your energy, you protect your destiny. Not everyone is happy for you. That's a hard truth, but once you accept it, you'll stop looking for validation from the wrong places. See, too many people assume that just because they have good intentions, the people around them do too. Just because you would never envy someone else's success, you think no one is secretly envying yours. Just because you celebrate other people's wins, you think everyone is genuinely celebrating yours. But life doesn't work that way. The reality is, some people smile in your face but resent you behind closed doors. Some act supportive, but deep down they're hoping you don't make it too far ahead of them. That's why you have to move carefully. You can't be out here assuming that just because someone claps for you, they actually want to see you win. Some people clap because it's polite. Some clap because they don't want to seem like a hater. But the moment you leave the room, they're questioning why you deserve what you have. Why them and not me? How did they get that opportunity? They ain't even that special. And if you're not careful, you'll let those very people into your circle, confiding in them, seeking advice from them, and unknowingly giving them access to your weaknesses. You ever notice how some people get real quiet when you start talking about your success? Or how they suddenly change the subject when you mention something good happening in your life? That's not a coincidence. That's energy revealing itself. People who are truly happy for you will reflect that in their words, their tone, and their actions. But those who aren't, their energy shifts, their enthusiasm disappears. And if you pay attention, you'll see exactly who's who. Now, here's where most people go wrong. When they notice someone in their circle isn't really happy for them, they try to fix it. They try to downplay their success to make the other person comfortable. They shrink themselves so they don't seem like they're bragging. They dim their light so others don't feel insecure. But let me ask you something. Why would you ever lower yourself to make someone else feel better? Why should you play small just because someone else isn't secure enough to handle your greatness? The truth is, if your success offends someone, that's their problem, not yours. See, real friends, real supporters, real people who love you, they don't get insecure when you elevate. They don't start acting different when you start winning. They're excited. They're inspired. They're cheering for you, even when they don't have a reason to. But those who aren't happy for you, those who start acting funny, who get distant, who suddenly have an issue with everything you do, that's a sign. That's your cue to create distance, to stop giving them access to your journey, to recognize that not everyone is meant to go where you're going. And here's something else you need to understand. Some people were fine with you as long as you stayed on their level, as long as you were struggling just like them, as long as you were complaining just like them. As long as you had nothing to show for your work, they were good with you. But the moment you start elevating, the moment you start talking differently, moving differently, achieving differently, that's when the energy shifts. Because now you're a reminder of what they could be doing. Now your success exposes their lack of effort. Now, you're proof that the excuses they've been making aren't valid. And some people can't handle that. So stop expecting everyone to be happy for you. Stop assuming that just because someone is close to you, they're rooting for you. Some people are only close enough to watch, not to support. Some people only stay connected so they can keep tabs on you, not because they genuinely care. And once you see it for what it is, you won't waste energy trying to convince people to celebrate you. Because at the end of the day, your journey is yours. Your success is yours. And the right people will celebrate with you without hesitation, without envy, and without hidden agendas. So instead of looking around to see who's clapping, focus on building, on growing, on winning. And when you do, you'll attract the right people, the ones who don't just tolerate your success, but truly celebrate it. There's a reason why speaking too soon about your goals can block things. Too many people are out here announcing their next move before they've even made it. They get an idea, a vision, a plan, and the first thing they do is tell everybody. They talk about what they're about to do, what's coming soon, what's in the works before they've put in the work. And then they wonder why things don't go the way they expected. They wonder why all of a sudden obstacles start appearing, distractions come out of nowhere, and the motivation they once had starts fading. See, there's power in silence. When you keep your plans to yourself, you give them space to grow without interference. But the moment you start talking too much, you invite energy that you're not ready to handle. You invite doubt, negativity, and unnecessary opinions that can throw you off track before you even get started. Some people won't believe in your vision simply because they can't see it for themselves. Some will tell you it won't work, not because they know anything about what you're doing, but because they've never seen it done before. And when you hear enough of that, it starts messing with your mind. It plants seeds of doubt. It makes you second guess yourself. And before you know it, you're moving slower, you're hesitating, and that fire you had in the beginning starts to die out. That's why you have to move differently. You have to understand that some things need to be protected until they're strong enough to stand on their own. Think about it like this. When a woman is pregnant, she doesn't announce it the second she finds out. She waits. She makes sure the baby is developing, growing, becoming stable before she shares the news. Because in those early stages, it's vulnerable. It needs to be nurtured without external pressure, without stress, without interference. Your dreams work the same way. When they're in the early stages, they're fragile. They're still forming. They don't need outside voices trying to shape them before they've had a chance to grow. But too many people expose their vision too soon. And when things don't happen the way they expect, they start feeling embarrassed. Now, instead of focusing on making it happen, they're worried about what people are thinking. They feel pressure to prove something instead of just putting in the work. And pressure like that can kill momentum. It can make you stop before you even reach the finish line. Because instead of staying locked in on your goal, now you're distracted by the fact that you already told people what you were going to do. And when it's not happening fast enough, that pressure turns into frustration. But if you had just stayed quiet and kept moving, you wouldn't have that problem. If you had just built in silence, you wouldn't be dealing with all these extra opinions, expectations, and distractions. See, when you don't tell people what you're doing, they can't interfere. They can't project their fears onto you. They can't speak doubt into your vision. They can't sabotage what they don't know about. And by the time they see the results, it's already too late for them to stop you. Now, understand something. This doesn't mean you can't ever share your success. It just means you have to be strategic. You have to know when to speak and when to stay quiet. You have to recognize the difference between announcing something for attention and moving in silence for elevation. Because real success doesn't need an announcement. It speaks for itself. So stop talking about what you're about to do and just do it. Stop looking for validation and let your results be the proof. Because when you protect your vision, when you give it time to develop before exposing it to the world, that's when you give it the best chance to succeed. And when you finally do speak, you won't be talking about what's coming, you'll be showing them what's already done. Silence is a power move. Too many people feel the need to announce every little thing they're doing, thinking that talking about it somehow makes it more real. They think that if they tell enough people about their goals, it'll force them to follow through. But in reality, the more you talk, the less you do. The more you announce, the more you invite distractions, doubts, and opinions that slow you down. The people who truly get ahead in life aren't the ones making the most noise. They're the ones moving in silence, staying focused, and letting their results do all the talking. You don't owe the world an explanation for every move you make. You don't have to post about every step you take. Update people on every decision or justify why you're doing what you're doing, because the truth is, most people aren't really paying attention to support you. They're watching out of curiosity. Some are waiting to see if you'll fail. Some just wanted to know your next move so they can copy it, block it, or talk about it. And if you're constantly giving them access to your process, you're making their job easy. You're giving them the blueprint to slow you down. Think about the most successful people you know. They don't broadcast their every move. They don't explain themselves to everybody. They move with intention. They take action, and by the time you hear about what they're doing, it's already done. That's because they understand something most people don't need: powers and control comes from silence. When you keep your moves to yourself, you stay in control of your narrative. No one can twist your words. No one can predict your steps. No one can interfere with what they don't see coming. Some people think silence means secrecy, but it's not about hiding, it's about protecting. Protecting your vision, protecting your energy, protecting your progress. Because when you keep things to yourself, you eliminate unnecessary pressure. You're not worrying about who's watching. You're not distracted by outside noise. You're locked in, focused, and moving with clarity. And that's when you operate at your highest level. The problem is most people seek validation before they even take action. They want someone to confirm that their idea is good, that their plan is smart, that their dream is possible. But when you need validation, you give other people power over your decisions. You let their doubts become your doubts. You let their fears shape your choices. And before you know it, you're hesitating, second-guessing yourself, and losing momentum. But when you move in silence, you free yourself from that. You stop looking for approval and start trusting yourself. You stop waiting for permission and start making things happen. Silence also protects you from unnecessary expectations. The moment you announce something, people start watching, they start asking questions. They start putting pressure on you. So, how's that business coming along? Did you get that promotion yet? I thought you were working on that project. And if things aren't moving as fast as you expected, that pressure can feel like a weight. Now, instead of focusing on the work, you're focused on explaining yourself. Instead of staying patient and trusting the process, you feel rushed. And that pressure can lead you to make moves you're not ready for. But when you move in silence, none of that matters. You control your timeline. You move at your own pace. You grow in your own way. And when it's time to show up, you show up strong, prepared, and already successful. Because success isn't about how many people know what you're doing. It's about how well you do it. It's about how focused you stay, how disciplined you remain, how committed you are to the process, not the praise. So keep your moves quiet. Let your actions speak. And when the time is right, let your success make the noise. Energy is real. You ever walk into a room and feel like something's off, even though nobody said anything? Or have a conversation with someone and leave feeling completely drained? That's not just your imagination, that's energy. And just like you can feel it, other people can feel yours. The problem is, too many people are walking around giving their energy away to the wrong people. They don't realize that some folks aren't in their lives to support them. They're there to take from them. They feed off your excitement, your ambition, your good news, not to uplift you, but to use you as fuel for their own emptiness. These are energy vampires, and if you're not careful, they will suck the life out of you without you even realizing it. Some people don't want advice, they want an audience. They don't want solutions, they want sympathy. They show up every time they need to dump their problems on you, but when you need support, they're nowhere to be found. And the moment you start distancing yourself, they act like you're the bad guy, like you're selfish for protecting your peace. But understand this, your energy is your responsibility. It's not your job to fix people who refuse to change. It's not your duty to be someone's emotional dumping ground. And it's definitely not your role to let people drain you just because they don't know how to recharge themselves. You ever notice how some people only come around when they need something? They're all ears when they need advice, all smiles when they need a favor, but when you're celebrating a win, suddenly they disappear. That's not a coincidence. Some people only keep you around because you make them feel better about themselves. As long as you're struggling, they feel comfortable. As long as you're doubting yourself, they feel superior. But the moment you start leveling up, the moment you start talking differently, moving differently, and winning in ways they didn't expect, suddenly, the energy shifts. They start throwing little jabs. They start questioning your decisions. They start acting distant, not because you did anything wrong, but because your growth is making them uncomfortable. That's why you have to be mindful of who has access to you. Not everyone who's close to you deserves to be. Some people were fine when you were playing small, but now that you're expanding, they don't know how to handle it. And if you keep allowing those people in your space, they will hold you back without you even realizing it. You'll start second-guessing yourself because of their doubts. You'll start hesitating because of their fears. You'll start shrinking because they make you feel like you're doing too much. But understand this, your growth isn't the problem. Their inability to grow with you is. Protecting your energy means being intentional about who you allow into your space. It means recognizing when a relationship is no longer serving you and having the courage to walk away from it. It means setting boundaries, not because you don't care about people, but because you care about yourself. And yes, some people will be offended. Some will call you selfish. So some will accuse you of changing. But isn't that the goal? To grow, to evolve, to become the best version of yourself? Why would you stay the same just to make someone else comfortable? You don't owe anyone unlimited access to your life. You don't have to answer every call, respond to every message, or entertain every conversation. Your energy is precious, and if you keep giving it away freely, you'll find yourself exhausted, frustrated, and stuck. But when you start being selective, when you start surrounding yourself with people who pour into you instead of just taking from you, everything changes. You feel lighter, you feel stronger, you move differently because you're no longer carrying the weight of people who were never meant to go where you're going. So take inventory of your circle. Pay attention to how you feel after spending time with certain people. If you leave feeling drained, doubtful, or discouraged, that's a sign. That's your spirit telling you that it's time to let go. Because the people who are meant to be in your life will energize you, not exhaust you. They'll inspire you, not intimidate you. They'll celebrate you, not secretly compete with you. And when you surround yourself with the right energy, you won't have to protect it so much because you'll finally be in a space where it's valued, not taken for granted. Everybody doesn't need to know what's going on in your life. There's this idea that transparency means telling everyone everything. But that's not true. Real power comes from discretion. Real wisdom is knowing what to share, when to share it, and with whom. Because the truth is, not everyone who listens is listening to support you. Some people are listening so they can judge you. Some are listening so they can use your words against you. And some are listening just to have something to talk about when you're not in the room. You ever notice how people will ask you about your life, not because they care, but because they're curious? They want to know what's going on with you, not to help, not to contribute, but simply to be in the know. And if you give them too much information, suddenly your personal business becomes a conversation piece for people who have no business discussing it. That's why you have to be mindful of who you let in. Stop assuming that everyone around you has pure intentions. Some people only want access to you because it benefits them. They want to stay close enough to watch your moves, but not close enough to genuinely support you. And here's what happens when you tell people too much: you open yourself up to unnecessary energy. You start getting opinions you never asked for. You start dealing with doubts that aren't even your own. You tell someone your plans, and before you know it, they're listing all the reasons why it won't work. Not because they know better, but because they don't believe they could do it themselves. And if you're not careful, you'll start absorbing that energy. You'll start questioning yourself, hesitating, and moving slower than you should. But if you had just kept it to yourself, you wouldn't be dealing with that distraction in the first place. Some things are meant to be private. Your next move, your personal struggles, your dreams that are still in the process of becoming reality, those things don't need to be shared with everyone. Because when you talk too much, you put yourself in a position where people feel entitled to give their input. And not everyone's input is valuable. Not everyone's words are coming from a place of love. Some people advise you from a place of fear. Some people try to limit you because they've already limited themselves. And if you let them, they will box you in with their small thinking. That's why you have to be selective. You have to guard your mind the same way you guard your house. You wouldn't just let anybody walk into your home, sit on your couch, and go through your things. So why do so many people let just anyone into their mental space? Why do they let people speak on their dreams, their goals, their personal battles, without even considering whether that person should have access in the first place? You have to start treating your energy like it's valuable, because it is. And that means limiting access. That means not giving people a front row seat to your process unless they've proven they deserve to be there. Silence is not secrecy, it's strategy. When you move quietly, you move with power. When you stop explaining yourself to people who don't matter, you take back control over your own life. You no longer have to worry about proving anything to anybody. You no longer have to waste energy on defending your choices. You simply focus on doing the work, staying disciplined, and letting your results speak for themselves. And the best part, when you keep your moves private, you protect yourself from unnecessary pressure. When people don't know what you're working on, they can't rush your process. They can't question your timing. They can't interfere with something they don't even know is happening. And by the time they see the results, it's already done. There's no room for doubt, no space for negativity, just proof that you made it happen. So stop feeling the need to explain yourself. Stop letting people into places they haven't earned access to. Stop thinking that you owe the world a play-by-play of your progress. You don't. Move in silence. Let your success be the only thing that speaks. And when the time is right, when the work is complete, when you've built something real, then and only then will you realize that keeping things to yourself was one of the smartest moves you ever made.